All righty. Well, it is about noon, so we will go ahead and get started, and we might have more folks kind of trickle in the next couple of minutes. But welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're all doing well in this week before fall break. I think we're all ready for a little bit of time off, but we're super happy that you're here today. We're going to start today's event with a brief land acknowledgement.
Okay, let me share my screen and sound. Okay, Noah, can you see my screen? Perfect. Okay, here we go.
As the first land-grant institution established under the 1862 Morrill Act, we acknowledge that the state of Kansas is, historically, home to many native nations, including the Kaw, Osage, and Pawnee, among others. Furthermore, Kansas is the current home to 4 federally recognized native nations: the Prairie Band Potawatomi, the Kickapoo Tribe of Kansas, the Iowa Tribe of Kansas and Nebraska, and the Sac and Fox Nation Missouri in Kansas and Nebraska.
Many native nations utilized the western plains of Kansas as their hunting grounds, and others, such as the Delaware, were moved through this region during Indian removal efforts to make way for white settlers. It's important to acknowledge this, since the land that serves as the foundation of this institution was, and still is, stolen land.
We remember these truths because K-State's status as a land-grant institution is a story that exists within ongoing settler colonialism and rests on the dispossession of indigenous peoples and nations from their lands. These truths are often invisible to many. The recognition that K-State's history begins and continues through indigenous contexts is essential.
Please remember
these truths
because we still remember.
Thank you, Ashley. A couple of quick announcements before we move on to today's event. So when we return from fall break on Wednesday, November 29th, Dr. Ryan Staley from Counseling and Psychological Services will be leading an event entitled Promoting Mental Health. And then we're going to end the fall semester series with a teaching chat on Wednesday, December 6th, where our primary topic will be revising your syllabi and wrapping up the semester. So we look forward to having those events in a couple weeks. But you are all here today to hear from Dr. Burrack and Dr. Brad Regier from the Office of Assessment. They'll be talking about connections between courses and outcomes. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here, both of you, and I will hand it over to you.
All right, very good. We're certainly glad to be able to join you. I'm going to start switching screens. So once I do that, I want to make sure that you're not seeing my notes, that you're actually seeing the screen. So everything's okay? Okay, this is our second session, and it's really intended to provide a context of the assessment processes for our programs that we have at Kansas State, with the particular focus on how this relates to faculty and their specific courses. If I've not met you before, my name is Burrack. I'm director of the Office of Assessment and the distinguished graduate faculty. And I'm also joined by Brad Regier, the associate director of assessment here in the Office of Data Assessment and Institutional Research. So today we want to focus on something that I really believe every faculty member, or if you're with co-curricular, or every project leader of a co-curricular unit, that we're intimately associated with, and that's curriculum. Although we maybe don't think of it that way, but that's the way we want to look at this curriculum, this aspect of curriculum. So I say this because if you teach a class, your class and what you teach are important components of the overall program's curriculum. If you're a project leader in a co-curricular unit, then the processes that your unit guides are intended to lead toward the mission of your unit, which is your curriculum. Now, what students do in the development of learning through the experiences that you provide, that is your curriculum. These experiences, whether it's in your classroom or beyond the classroom, can also be the means of observing the extent to which students demonstrate their understandings, their learning and their skills as a result of these experiences. So then the learned expectations in your course or your co-curricular experience are a component part of the student learning development defined by your learning outcomes. So within each of your courses or co-curricular experiences are the combination of contribution to the curriculum of your program and unit.
Course and unit level curriculum are the day-to-day learning activities that you design to develop students' learning or experiences. When using a measurement tool, they become assessments in the form of projects, exams, or quizzes from which students gain feedback about their learning. Each assignment or activity in your class reflects skills, knowledge, and dispositions for students to demonstrate. These learning activities are designed to measure either all or part of a curriculum unit. And each experience in your class is a developmental step toward program completion. The more closely that course assessments and activities reflect an authentic application in your disciplinary field, the greater the validity there is in the learning process, and thus can be used as an assessed benchmark toward program completion. For example, art students must demonstrate their ability to use different skills in different mediums, rather than learning happening solely through a textbook, lectures, paper, and pencil tests. As an expert, you know the kinds of skills and dispositions that students need to be valued professionals in your respective field. Now, when assessment of knowledge and skills demonstrates a particular level of achievement toward a program level learning outcome, your course assessments can inform instruction across your program and toward broader learning outcomes. And the varied courses that you teach all contribute to the program goals. Taken together, the experiences that you provide students capture specific component objectives of your program or unit. If a program or co-curricular unit considers the sequence of experiences that will effectively lead students towards program learning goals, we call this curriculum matrix.
Okay, that gives you an overview of what we want to talk about today is where do you all fit in to this aspect of curriculum, and why is it important to think about you in your individual class, or you as this project leader? Why is it important to look beyond just this single unit, to be able to look over its contribution to the whole? And how do you do it? We call that in our office is curriculum mapping. And it's the process of matching learning outcomes. That means this is the reason they're coming to study in your program, those learning outcomes, and then mapping that, what is taught in your course, to the overall degree program or unit experiences provided by your unit. The curriculum matrix defines the alignment between the goals of the overall structure, your program or unit, and then the specific learning opportunities that happens within your course. So the process of developing a curriculum matrix is an extremely important aspect for faculty. It's important because so the faculty will develop the awareness of how the learning experiences in their specific course contributes to the student learning within the program expectations. Most often, the development of a curriculum matrix exposes gaps in learning opportunities. We've seen that quite a bit with programs who now, as a faculty, they've gone back and looked at each of their courses and what is taught, and then recognize that students aren't reaching the level that they want by the end of the program because something is missing in the middle. And they hadn't really seen it before because people were really concentrating on their specific course expectations. And now being able to see the entire alignment and the sequence that students actually experience, this generates new ideas for course content and sometimes in the course sequence. When the design of a curriculum map is built around courses, a curriculum matrix can identify in which courses a component of the program learning outcome is introduced, as you see in this matrix with an I, where the practice and development and complexity and difficulty are addressed, which you see in this matrix with a P, and where the assessment to determine program completion mastery should be assessed, as indicated in this curriculum matrix with an M or a star. Beyond this structure, some of the programs use a more detailed consideration. And some of this is important to know exactly when you're saying in that P area where there's practice and development, what part of the aspect is developed in this particular course, so they can see the development of not just an outcome is addressed, but to what level and what component of that outcome is addressed where in their curriculum. Some programs have used a curriculum matrix similar to this. It becomes a little more complex, but much more detailed. Accredited programs use matrices like this to help define the outcome category, as you see at the far left. And then inside of each category are the specific component indicators that are assessed at different places across different courses and at different levels of difficulty. And those are identified then with a little bit more detail in that next column. Similar to the first example, the I introduces where this particular construct or skill is first introduced in the series of courses in your curriculum. And then the R indicates where further refinement or reinforcement is addressed and developed. And then the E is where competency is expected to be demonstrated. Now, matrices like this can help confirm that the students are provided sufficient instruction and enough developmental experience for the opportunity of being successful in the outcomes to your whole program. Program development in the curriculum matrix often leads to curricular enhancements, as we've seen in many programs. Once they start looking across courses, recognizing, oh, we maybe could do things in a little different way. And actually, we see a lot of that happening right now with restructuring of courses within the course sequences happening all across the institution. Sometimes the development of minors and also other avenues for students to be able to learn the things that they need to do. So curricular enhancements and the sequence of the courses that are being taught. Now, when we're looking at curriculum matrix, it's also important to look at some of the course assignments, if you want to put it that way, beyond the traditional for-credit course experiences. In other words, where in the student's experience in your degree program, or you might be in the unit that you're associated with, where do they have these other experiences where students gain developmental knowledge or can demonstrate what they're learning? Things like student research symposia or internships or practica that they're involved with. Even advising sessions or portfolios or performance, mock interviews, these are all instructional activities that sometimes happen outside of specific courses. Many times the learning experiences, like I just mentioned, are the things that can be used for students to demonstrate their application of learning and then scored, and they become an assessment of the quality of learning that's happening across your programs. Now, with all of these matrices examples that I've shared with you, the Office of Assessment has a variety of ways that we can help you as an individual faculty and faculty in and across your program understand how your specific courses align and fit in to the overall program curriculum, and even thinking the specific assignments in your course, where does that fit into the developmental sequence of the students who are moving through your program?
In education, there's an adage to never teach to the test, but I often wonder, what if the test is valid, reliable, and meaningful to the people that are using that test? If we have a clear vision of students as accomplished learners in our programs, then we know what skills, knowledge, and dispositions that they should demonstrate upon degree completion. This reverse engineering of course development, or backward design, begins with student learning expectations clearly defined. And within each course, defining how we expect students to demonstrate that learning has occurred. How do we know if students know something? We really don't unless we see them apply or demonstrate their knowledge in some way. So this idea of having an objective and the students know because they know, we really don't know until they show us that they can apply these ideas. And then we design instruction which leads to successful student achievement. With this curriculum design, faculty identified developmental benchmarks that sequentially lead to goal attainment across the curriculum among individual courses. Ultimately, we evaluate students' application of knowledge so that we ensure students are ready to move on to the next target. And in my own courses, if students aren't ready to move to the next target, there's no harm in, of course, reviewing or even jumping backwards to see where that baseline is so that we know where students are in their learning development. A spiral curriculum approach can help visualize what student learning should look like year to year, semester to semester, and even day to day. This approach to curriculum was first theorized by Bruner, for all of you educational theorists in the room. Although complexity increases with time, plenty of opportunity to revisit and practice and apply the new content should exist in the curriculum and in your class, of course. Students come to us with a whole host of different background knowledge, so it's important to know where student learning is at when we first get them into our courses. From there, we can adjust our smaller learning targets for each of our course objectives to meet students' needs and ensure that the learning targets are met sequentially and gradually. And that comes from knowing where our students are at all times. And that comes from assessment. New content without practice can overwhelm even our best students, and new content without contextualization and application seems inauthentic to students. And that's why we need to build in numerous opportunities for students to show that they can do, to show us what they can do in an authentic situation. And this also gives you a clear understanding of students' abilities when they leave your classroom and continue their development in the program. A final consideration are the institutional learning goals. And this may be the first time you're hearing about these. K-State identifies 5 broad learning categories in which students should demonstrate ability. Those are knowledge, critical thinking, communication, diversity, and academic and professional integrity. And rather than all students showing ability in the same way, students demonstrate their abilities respective to their programs and institutional experiences. The course experiences that you provide in your class reflect or mirror, there's the mirror, the institutional learning goals, rather than being separate learning outcomes altogether. So the very nature of pedagogy ensures students work towards the learning goals. Again, this gives added value and validity to the assessment process in your classroom. For example, students in the College of Education demonstrate an ability to communicate orally and through written means to students, parents, and administrators, while students in the College of Business must communicate to clients, marketing teams, and shareholders. So each program has defined contextual goals that students demonstrate to meet institutional learning outcomes.
Well, with learning sequenced across your courses in your degree program or across the activities in your units, there are many ways to connect assignment scores to program outcomes. Now, the Office of Assessment can work with faculty to help you make these connections. First, to recognize how does everything fit into the larger picture. But we also here primarily to help automate the collection of data just to make it useful for your program and for you as individual faculty. In other words, to make connections into the normal practice of your assessment scoring. One of the ways we do that is through Canvas. And one of the basic steps of alignment of program outcomes into the course-based assignment in Canvas is to first, in your course, go find the outcome. So there's a place at the left that says you can find click to the outcomes level, and those program outcomes or unit outcomes are already within Canvas for you to make a connection. So at that point, you go to find, and you go find the outcome that is connected with something that you're doing within your course or within your assignment. And then you select which outcome needs to be connected to whatever scoring device that you have. As far as connecting these outcomes to a specific assignment, the alignment with the assignment scoring process is highly individualized and can be done in many, many different ways. So I'm not going to spend time now showing you all the different possibilities of how to connect a program outcome to a specific assignment, or the other way around. Take what you're learning in the assignment and being able to align a specific component of that scoring to your program outcome. But I do invite you to contact us in the Office of Assessment. We can help you to find out what is the best way to be able to make a connection so that you can have the data back about the students in your program and where they fit into the development across your program through using this technological means. In other words, it's a best fit of the way that you assess students in your class with being able to collect achievement scores across, not just in your course, because you already have that in your grading system, but how does it fit across your program and the development from course to course, if that's the way your program is set up. Program outcomes can be included using rubrics. They can align with individual questions. Let's say on a quiz, certain ones are address certain outcomes. They might even be scored independently from course assignments. So as I mentioned, there are many ways to be able to use this technology. And I simply want to make you aware that we're here to help you to do that, to bring the data that is going to be useful to you as an individual faculty in your course and a faculty member within the program. Now, as your program works with aligning outcomes with specific course expectations, the Canvas technology makes it fairly easy to align specific course objectives within an overall program outcome. For example, as you see here on this slide, skills developed and demonstrated individually in one or more courses can be aligned to specific assignments in this particular aspect, representing reading and writing. So in other words, within Canvas structure, this course can have, this is the outcome that the specific objective that we assess in our course. Another course may have a different objective at a different level, etc., but all combined, that shows progress and achievement within this outcome of reading and writing. But the important thing is this aspect of disaggregation. When we're collecting data and we want to give it back to you so you can make it useful, disaggregating student learning to the specific objectives and how they fit across your curriculum, that's what enables the data collection to represent the multiple ways in which courses or students demonstrate achievement and sometimes demonstrate challenges that they're having in the development across a program outcome aligned with specific coursework. In research technology, we call this triangulation. Across multiple component learnings within a program, all indicating achievement of an outcome. This is using multiple measures to enable a broader representational learning while respecting the autonomy of how the faculty teaches their course, and yet fits it within the overall course or curricular structure of the program. So just to give an example of how when a structure is built within Canvas, within the outcomes, taking into consideration the course objectives, by aligning program objectives with the course assignments using the available technology right now in Canvas, but there are other things too. We can analyze the student achievement by, one, looking at that top level, the overall outcome achievement in that top graph. In other words, taking all the different course objectives and putting them together to see how they're doing in the overall outcome. But because we have the data separated by achievement component skills, which happen across your curriculum, as you see in the second graph below, we can separate that out by the different component skills that are addressed across multiple courses. and to see where students are achieving at a higher level or lower level of the component parts of the outcome. And even looking down to the lower graph at the bottom, being able to view achievement by which course assignment did that come from. Some programs have used this to identify where in the curriculum students are finding a challenge to be able to demonstrate achievement in particular outcomes. So then the program might go back to that particular course and say, okay, why is it the students are having trouble at this point? Is it something that's before this we need to address in the curriculum and the instructions? Programs have used this technology to identify the depth of learning within particular outcome categories by drilling down to find where the students are being challenged in their learning. And then to use these discoveries to initiate course-based adjustments, and then reassessing the restructure to see, did it make a difference? When these data are pulled directly from Canvas, it can provide some other valuable information for you and the faculty by identifying student achievement over time, as seen in the left graph, and to see when changes have happened. We've had programs now who've been doing this for quite a few years, and they started looking at achievement in specific component parts of the outcome categories, recognizing what was their achievement before the pandemic, during the pandemic, after coming back to face, and they came to realize that certain objectives are learned better in certain ways depending on the form of instruction, and actually have made some instructional choices across their curriculum as a result of the data that is telling them about student achievement. The other thing that we are able to provide you here through if we're working with you, is on the right, you see an image using AI, looking at the different demographic indicators that might expose factors that's influencing the student learning achievement. In this particular aspect, it is identifying where the students are showing the greatest challenge in achieving high scores, or achieving the scores you want at level. So it'll pull out which of the demographics appear to, or demographic groups appear to be having the most difficulty reaching the level of expectation. Alternative visualizations can be organized by benchmark expectations at different places across your curriculum to identify at what place in your curriculum students are excelling or maybe having challenges in specific outcomes. And looking at the course sequence. These are all different forms of analysis that can be added to any of the dashboards that we're creating for you through the use and collection of data in the multiple ways that we can do that, and then use this data in your annual review of student learning within your course and across your program, and also used within accreditation reporting. A lot of programs have used these technologies to be able to provide insights and also document the learning that's happening across courses, within courses, and across the entire program. So we wanted to bring to your attention the data that can be available to you as individual faculty, as well as the faculty across your program, and we can provide to you, and we invite you to consider these options when it comes to curriculum development, recognizing the sequence where your courses fit into the program, because we see that the value of assessment is within the value of your curriculum development. It's being able to have the data to be able to thoughtfully develop a sequence of courses that is going to be have the most impact on the quality of learning, to be able to have data that will increase the course-based learning that happens in each of your courses, and be able to identify from that data the challenges students are having to be able to make instructional decisions on what you're going to teach and how you're going to teach it to have the greatest impact on the students. And then also to be able to that the data itself has a value to you. There's no reason collecting data that doesn't go anywhere but on a piece of paper in a form. If we can have a system that provides data that every faculty member finds usefulness and provides insights that aren't easily seen, as we see in some of the AI and some of the longitudinal assessments, then that assessment process becomes more useful to you as a faculty member. So that's what we wanted to share with you today, and what we'd like to be able to do is open this up to any questions or discussion. And if nothing else, I hope you are able to leave this recognizing what the Office of Assessment wants to offer you through interaction, and maybe ways to be able to give you the information that's going to allow you to have the greatest impact on student learning within your program. So were there any questions or things that you wanted to discuss at this time?
Dr. Burrack, I'm curious, as of right now, how many different departments, programs across K-State are using the curriculum matrix that you talked about a little bit earlier in the presentation?
If I can't tell you an exact percentage, but I will say it's very easily that anywhere from half to 2/3 of the programs have a very clearly defined curriculum matrix, because, well, especially those that are using Canvas to collect information, because you need that structure in order to identify where data is going to be collected. Without trying to pin a specific number, I would say easily 60 to 70% of the programs have a form of curriculum matrix, and especially those that are associated with, say, accreditation. Theirs are very detailed. And we've seen programs that once they created their curriculum matrix have come to recognize challenges within their curriculum sequence, having expectations for learning that they realize aren't addressed sufficiently across their courses, and they've made adjustments within what is taught in which course and in which order those courses are presented for their students, and have seen really strong impact on the quality of learning that's happening in their program.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
While you're maybe thinking of questions, I do want to emphasize that one of the main reasons we wanted to present this is that it's important that every faculty knows why their course exists in their program. There are no courses that is there just for the sake of being the course itself. It's part of a sequence, whether you look at it or not. And the students go through a sequence of courses in their program. That's just the way that university works. And if nothing else, just to look at the value of why you're teaching your course and the impact it's having on the students beyond just that course. Because that's why we're here. I mean, that's why everyone teaches. We want to have an impact on the students' lives in some way, rather than get a grade at this course and forget all about it. So just simply be thinking about the value you have, the value of your course in something greater than your course, which might be your program. And that's the purpose of the curriculum matrix, is to clearly see the value that what your students are learning in your course, how it fits from where they came from and where they're going. Absolutely, I'd be very happy to share this PowerPoint. You will also have this video. All of the curriculum matrices are on our Office of Assessment website now, and we have something called an assessment toolkit. And in that toolkit is a section called curriculum development, I think
Yeah.
I think that's the name of it. But I also want to offer to you that we want to work, we're happy to meet with any individual faculty or groups of faculty and help you look at your program and the value your program has to student learning. We're here just for you, to help you find what is happening in your program and your students' experience using direct data on student achievement that you develop and you collect in your courses and make it easier for you.
I have a question about some of the graphs that you showed about where students were in terms of if they're unsatisfactory, emerging, or meeting standards. How are those categories determined? Is that something that I would specify on the front end, or is that based on a certain grade threshold, or how did we get to those categories?
The answer to that is you're the experts of your discipline. You're the experts of the expectations of achievement and how students are going to, or you expect students to be able to demonstrate whatever learning you're expecting. So the way it works in here is that's your program's decision. What is the rigor of expectation for your program upon? So if we look at the outcome, the program outcome, what is the level of expectation that fully meets everything that you want when they graduate from your program in this outcome? That's called a program outcome. Anything below fully meeting all expectation is almost there, but not quite. And you determine what that is. That's the rigor. You determine the rigor of your program. Sometimes you go with other standards that come from national standards or accreditation expectations, recognizing accreditation expectations are the minimum acceptable level for you to run your program. Meeting your expectations of your program, I hope that's higher than accreditation standard, because I don't think you really want to say our standard is the minimum acceptable level. So that should be higher, and we should be assessing to what extent are we going beyond the minimum acceptable level for student achievement. And you determine that within your assignments, your data collection, and whatever's meaningful to your faculty, to your program. And that is part of curriculum development, to create a program that looks at the achievements of learning in your students, the way that your program is developing them. Did I answer your question?
I think in a big picture, yes. I was wondering a little more specifically about how those graphs are getting to the different categories, like unsatisfactory, meets expectations. Like, is that like I would assign a grade range that meets unsatisfactory or something like that?
Yeah, there can be many different ways that can, depending on what assessment you're using. So if you have a range of, let's say you have, you're looking at knowledge retention. And with the knowledge retention, usually that is by answering multiple choice questions. And you might have a range of this many questions in this category have to be right, and that meets the expectations. So that is a range. If we look at a scoring rubric where maybe you are, they're out in the field, literally out in the field looking at corn stalks and being able to identify different types of diseases and bugs and stuff. And, maybe you're scoring them on some type of rubric scale that you've created. That again is a range that you have determined because you're the expert, you know what you're looking for, and you've determined those ranges. So no matter how you design it, yes, it can be however your program determines what meets the quality of expectation, what is possibly close to meeting, but not quite there. What is, okay, they're barely getting it, but they got it a little bit. What's totally unacceptable. And that varies from program to program. Most important things, whatever you decide in your program, when you get the data back, is it useful to you to be able to use that data to make decisions? Yeah, they're not grades. It doesn't have to be grades. It could be.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think those graphs are really helpful. So I just wanted to make sure I understood how we were getting those breakdowns. So thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions? Were there any in the chat?
I don't see any in the chat right now.
Well, all I then hope is that we brought at least one area of consideration toward your value as a faculty member, the value of your class. And to think, oh, well, maybe this is a possibility. Want you to recognize what we are. We're here to offer our services to support that value and maybe even give you data that you can use to be able to make decisions in your course and across your program. So we want to thank you for listening, and we're always here. If you want to chat, any discuss things, want us to help you develop any type of assessment measure, call us and we will meet with you or your faculty or whatever you want to. But I really believe curriculum development and the understanding of the curriculum that you exist within is just an essential feature to being a faculty member.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Burrack and Dr. Regier, for being here today and for sharing all this wonderful information with us. If you send those slides, we'll be sure to post them on the TLC website along with the recording of this event. I do want to remind everyone that if you attend enough of these events, you can earn a professional development certificate. If you're a faculty member, you can also apply for fellowship. And I put that information in the chat. And my colleague Ashley has also put a post-event survey link in the chat for you all to complete to earn credit towards each of those respective things. But thank you again so much for being here today. Hope you all have a wonderful fall break. We'll stick around for a couple questions if anyone has any, but have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.